Okay, so it's no stranger on this channel that I'm kind of pissed at Toho lately. They've just deleted all those Godzilla Roblox games, which sounds stupid, but some of these games were incredibly realistic. Like, Kaiju Arisen was godly, dude. But they also keep sticking their fingers into the MonsterVerse, changing the storyline so the movies don't really add up to the comics anymore and stuff like that. And it's starting to piss me off a little bit, because it's like, dude, just go make -1 part 2, you know? Let us do our thing. Let's see what Dangerville has to speak of on the subject.
Godzilla and the MonsterVerse can't have a species. Or at least that's what the author of the last 3 MonsterVerse film novelizations, Greg Keyes, implied earlier this year in an interview with Goji Guy.
In writing some of these books, we would talk about Godzilla's species. And at a certain point, Toho asked us to stop doing that. I don't know why. I don't know what that indicates. I don't know what that means to them. But thinking of Godzilla as a species is apparently not the way we're meant to think about Godzilla.
See, here's why this is an issue, real quick. The comics, everything, the movies, Kong's axe is made from a dorsal spike from a Godzilla. The comics all tell of a giant war between the Godzillas and Kongs that resulted in the Kongs being banished to Skull Island. That's like the whole reason they went there. There's so many things throughout the story that rely on there being an ancient Godzilla species and Godzilla just being like the last remaining survivor. So now with Toho being like, nope, that's not a thing. You only get one Godzilla. It's like, okay, so like 65% of the last 10 years doesn't really make sense anymore. Thanks a lot, Toho. That's so awesome.
But how can this be? How can Toho, after numerous films, comics, and books, suddenly force Legendary and the MonsterVerse to potentially retcon the entire Godzilla and really entire MonsterVerse ancient timeline as we know it?
I'm so happy someone's shining a light on this. Until this video, it's just been me complaining nonstop.
After plenty of research, I was unable to find a response from Toho on this matter, which means this is all still very much under the wraps. And while Keyes is an official and someone to respect in this line of work, make sure to remember that this is, at this point, simply his words and not 100% confirmed.
I guess I should mention that also. Don't go and harass Toho because of this video. You'd make the Godzilla community look horrible and like cause a civil war. We also have to be like civil. We're not a bunch of savages. We're Godzilla fans, for God's sakes.
Although after hearing the clip, I think we can all agree that the author was likely telling the truth, as he has no real reason to make up stuff on this matter. Toho has been under some fire lately from the MonsterVerse and Godzilla fandom for their rules with Godzilla that don't allow him to actively hunt and eat any humans or other wildlife.
Toho keeps making Godzilla rules that don't fit any movie format. Again, don't go harass Toho. That's crazy. They still made Godzilla. They're the reason he exists the entire first place. It just kind of sucks because the MonsterVerse was really cool.
Like a normal creature would. And of course, their rule on how Godzilla can never fully die unless it's implied that there will be a replacement like a son, or that he was in fact not truly dead. But those two guidelines are easily capable of being looked over and not causing any real commotion, but potentially all but erasing the bits of lore describing Godzilla having a species in the MonsterVerse is a much bigger deal, as it more or less destroys the King of the Monsters' intriguing origin story in this particular universe. Godzilla is a character with many origins, and many different stories to tell, but for the most part, he has always been a singular specimen, the one and only member of whatever he is. This has never been an issue for me personally throughout the franchise prior to the MonsterVerse. I love the Big G-Man being this unique godlike being whose existence could never truly be explained.
Honestly, I like it too. The thought of just one Godzilla, it's a really cool thing. It's more that just after a decade now they're changing it. Those comics were awesome, man. Now they're just nothing.
At the end of the day, I was happy for Godzilla to just be there. Something many of you can certainly relate to. But I was also one of those people that actually enjoyed seeing Godzilla have tons of offspring in the '98 film.
Me
and this emotion reached the next level when it came to the MonsterVerse, and the possibility that at one time in this universe there were multiple members of his species. Whether they were alive or not during the movies was irrelevant to me, just imagining them was fun enough. It opened up so many new avenues for a Godzilla story, one that didn't follow the same path as nearly every other Godzilla who came before, and there's a lot of them.
That's the other thing, is why does every Godzilla movie have to be the exact freaking same, dude? It's like when Spider-Man fans cry that we don't see Uncle Ben die for the 15th time. It's like, come on! I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore.
Every other Godzilla who came before, and there's a lot of them. We got Dagon, a member of Godzilla's species who was in the very first film, and had a whole story created around him that helped drive the lore home when it came to the Muto storyline.
Bro, Dagon isn't even real anymore. He birthed the Mutos in 2014. God.
Back in those days, I found myself daydreaming about if Godzilla knew that Dagon was infected by the Muto Prime, and if he just stood there slowly watching helplessly as the last remaining member of his kind died a slow, agonizing death.
Never even
Which
thought
Greg
of
Key
that.
shot down real fast in his interview as well with this statement right here.
Does Godzilla, like, did he know about Dagon? Like, did he, like, know him in a sense? Like, kind of like a, yo, what's up, man? Like, friendly in a way?
I have no idea.
This all just harpens back to Legendary not going the extra mile for their stories in the MonsterVerse to feel connected. Having your book writer be so clearly out of the loop on this interesting dynamic is a massive dropped ball in my opinion.
Big
So
time.
does this mean that Dagon and all the other Titan remains that were clearly derived from a Godzilla species member in the lore are now no longer canon and said to be completely forgotten? It's sure looking that way. The MonsterVerse has consistently struggled with building a completely connected universe, with lore routinely being an afterthought or completely forgotten from one project to the next. And if this truly is the case, that Toho will no longer allow the MonsterVerse creators to create lore describing an ancient battle between Godzilla and Kong's species, no longer allowing characters like Dagon to exist in the lore, that's a bit of a bummer. And we can already start to see signs of this new forced rule showing up over the last two films and their extended media. Shimo, as you know, was a Titan who shared similarities with Godzilla and Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, but was clearly not the same species, not directly. If anything, we could simplify Godzilla and Shimo's biological connection to be something along the lines of that they were both unique members of a certain class of Titan. Like how a crocodile and a Komodo dragon are different, but they both come from the reptile line. But originally Shimo was pitched to look much more like the Big G-Man, as we can see in this concept art for the—
Oh my god, that's the most gorgeous thing ever. You telling me Toho took more from me? Toho took that from us? I love Shimo, but compared to that, that's so much cooler, dude.
beast. You can see that she wasn't
Wow.
exactly identical to Godzilla
A frost
completely,
goji.
but it was clear that they were the same species, like comparing a Mastiff to a German Shepherd. Both very different appearance-wise, but 100% members of the dog species. Titanus Doug fits here as well. All the talks about this lovable Titan being a branch off of Godzilla's species are now potentially nothing more than fun fanfiction.
Damn
And
it!
remember the infamous concept art depicting a flying Godzilla firing down below on a group of Kongs and Gojis? We may have finally gotten our answer to why this scene describing the ancient war in Godzilla vs. Kong was deleted and replaced with what we got in the New Empire.
What is Toho's deal? It's like sabotage.
From a story describing a true massive interspecies war, to a story simply being about only one Godzilla challenging the Kong species. It's just a much less imaginative take on the ancient story and lore of the MonsterVerse in my opinion. One that doesn't allow much room for thought or fun to be had in developing a gripping origin story. I
None.
do have to quickly add that many of the other Titans in this universe are shown as being the only ones of their kinds, so there is that.
Yeah, but there's stuff like Shino Mura in the comics. I'm pretty sure it mentions there was many of her, and then there was some great big like catastrophic event, and one of them was safely preserved deep underground, and that's the Shino Mura we have today. There's like a lot of similar stories like that, I'm pretty sure, for other kaiju as well. It's just hundreds of millions of years later, there's like the ones that are left, there's only one of them.
But we have to remember that this is only an issue regarding Godzilla because it's changing something that was already established.
Because wasn't it also established Rodan was an egg or was nested in that volcano and grew up in there? Never, I don't know. Someone told me that and they made it sound super convincing. I suppose I should look into that more, but I'm pretty sure that Rodan was born in that volcano.
Godzilla's story in the MonsterVerse could now very well be phrased as more of the same old, and this could be one of the reasons why Godzilla over the last two films has regressed into mostly being nothing more than an unrelenting force that has been sidelined to play the role of a dramatic plot point driving tool and not much more than that.
Yeah, at the start of this, I was foolish. I thought that Toho, to be honest, I was wrong about that. I thought Toho had made new rules since Godzilla x Kong, but I guess the new rule was made prior. Kong's just gonna progressively get a better and better storyline as they put more rules on
I
Godzilla.
understand that Toho wants to ensure that the Godzilla legacy is not tarnished by some outlandish modern tale of their beloved character. But to enforce this, there can only be one. Policy on the MonsterVerse so far into its lifespan just doesn't sit right with me, and it doesn't help this universe.
Yeah!
Sure, it helps make the individual Godzilla feel more special and truly godlike, but we already have 30-some films doing that already. and it was
Yeah.
nice to have a completely different origin story for the creature. In the end though, things can change, and like I said before, I wasn't able to find any official remark on this matter outside of the words of Greg Keyes. But he's written the last 3 official books for this universe, so I think there's something to his words being accurate there.
Yeah.
Moving forward with the MonsterVerse, I reckon we're going to continue to see Godzilla presented as a singular being with no family or species. So let's just wait and see. So you've heard how I'm not a fan of this potential change to Godzilla's story in the MonsterVerse, or that we're just not going to talk about what's already been established in the lore, just because Toho said so. And now I want to hear y'all's thoughts. I can't be alone on this. Anyway everyone, if you like this video and you want more like it, you know what to do. Subscribe, hit the bell, like the video, share it around, do all that YouTube stuff. As always, this has been Jacob, and I will see you in the next one.
It was all very well put. I feel like I agree with most of it. I feel like Toho is amazing at making kaijus. Like, they're the best at it. They made Godzilla. That's what they do. But the MonsterVerse movies are making like hundreds of millions of dollars, bro. Like, we know what we're doing. We're not making Godzilla look silly. He looks freaking awesome in all these movies. We're not like smudging his good name. You know what I'm saying? It just feels like they're gonna kind of tank Godzilla. Like, if they keep doing this. Let me know what you guys think down below, or like in Jacob's video like he said, but I am interested because I am definitely causing some waves right now. Either way, leave a like on the video, subscribe to Dangerville, of course, if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.